Oh, sorry about that. Had to take a quick phone call there because, of course, the wife would call right as I just get started there. She just left the house 10 minutes ago, but yeah, she forgot something so that she needed to tell me. So, as we were talking about the OCS here, we're going to start off, this episode. Let's see what we got going on. Okay, make sure we're still back up and streaming. Fine. So yes, we got Profundity right there. If he lost all three games and got to 30 with that win percentage, depending on who he played against, it may not hold up. There are some people in here who can still get to 30 or above. Wise has 3 games left to play. He could get to 32. Um, so he certainly needs, I could get to 30. Some of these other guys here are a little too far back. Chris Kelly's got 5 games left. He could also get to 30. Mr. Shaw could get to 30. I think everybody else down here is too low, and we have too many games left to play to really predict that. So what we would need, if he's going to need to get at least one more win to start feeling safe about it. Obviously, he'd like to win all 3 and then not have to worry about it. Might actually move him ahead of Mr. Yellow and into first place, um, and we'll go from there. But we are going to jump into a couple of game reviews today. We got, actually, before I do that, let me back up a second. So it's the 17th. So we've got the European Championships coming up this weekend. I know everybody is eagerly awaiting to see that, or really just to see the deck lists from that, to find out what everyone seems to be using to beat Black Sun, since it seems to be the most popular dark side deck. And I think what we're possibly going to see, in anticipation of the World's meta, um, it's questionable as to how many people there will even play Black Sun, um, what the availability is in Europe. I know a lot of the players in the European community, some of them have been here for decades, and they've been playing the game forever. And some of them are newer players, and a lot of the active ones or returning players who may not have full card availability. And, getting 4 to 5 copies of the Emperor to play Black Sun, or 4 to 5 copies of Jedi Luke to play Throne Room or something, Hitco, that seems to counter well against Black Sun. Um, there might be card availability issues, and that might skew things a little bit as well. Um, I don't know. I don't know how readily available some of that stuff is. So I guess we'll wait and see what the deck lists we get out of that are. And then 2 weeks after that, first weekend in October, we've got our 2018 World Championship. So that's just under 3 weeks away. So if you planning on attending, be sure to make sure you sign up still, get your flight booked, hotel, whatever. And let's go. We've already got over 60 people signed up. This could potentially be the largest World Championships that have ever been held in the PC era. I'd have to go back and double check the exact numbers from like 2002, 2003 to see where we ended up. But, a lot of the PC ones, we usually get, upper 50s, low 60s. So if we could hit 70, which seems reasonable at this point, we've already got 61, 62 people signed up. And I know there's about a half dozen or so others that have mentioned that they're coming, just haven't signed up yet. So we easily could hit 70 players, and that would be pretty friggin' awesome. Um, yeah, but I guess the question is going to be how much of it is Black Sun, and how much light side decks, how many light side decks out there are teched to beat Black Sun, and that gets into the whole rock paper scissors aspect. Everyone expects you to play Black Sun, so you build a light side deck that beats it, rock crush, and then everyone just switches to the deck that beats the deck that beats you, and you get into that little circle. It's that whole metagame, trying to stay one step ahead of what everybody else is doing. So if everyone thinks Black Sun is great, and everyone thinks that Throne Room or Hitco does well against Black Sun, well, then you just switch and you play a deck that beats Throne Room and Hitco, and hope that everybody else doesn't then make a change. And it's that whole the Princess Bride thing that I believe Joe Olson brought up during the Emperor's uh, Star Wars Holo Theater that was broadcast last week. Love that scene. It's absolutely one of my favorite movies, and it's an absolutely great scene. So, plus there's Andre the Giant in that movie, so how could you not love it? All right, Let's move into some game reviews. Our first game was submitted to us by the co-host of that Star Wars CCG Hollow Theater show, Quesosauce. Queso submitted this game. He recently played against Yodad. That would be the father of his best buddy, Jan. Uh, Queso is playing Imperial Entanglements. We're going to see what he's got to choose from here. For starting effects, he's going to do the traditional, looks like mob points and or shield, Imperial Arrest Order. Does look like he is running Domination and an additional grabber. And he'll be playing against Yodad, who's got Squadron Assignments, Insurrection, and Walkling. He did start Restore Freedom, so it does tend to make me think that this is more of a space-heavier deck, where he's planning on draining more in space. He may just be pulling 1 or 2 docking bays for extra activation, or to boost the forfeit, potentially, of some of his lower Rebel pilots. Could be running like Theronnet or Biggs or Red Leader or something. I don't know. That might benefit Tycho. Might benefit from those Red Rogue Squadron pilot guys that Wedge cancels Battle Destinies with. So, all right. So Imperial Entanglements. We haven't really showcased this one too much. Typically speaking, they use mob points. They take the Executor, which he didn't do here. They get a docking bay with Imperial Arrest Order. Usually it's the Executor docking bay. You end or shield for Piet. You put Piet there, so you get +2 activation right off the bat from mob points. And then, Piet's going to pull you an Admiral's Order, which you can't deploy the first turn anymore because they eroded that after the Trooper version was killing everybody and was just way too fast. So Piet's going to grab an Admiral's Order. You've got 2 to choose from in the deck. Usually it's in the standard builds, it's we're in attack position now, which lets all your pilots deploy cheap and makes your Star Destroyers give some immunity to attrition. Or you've got battle deployment, which is the one that helps you set up by getting your combat vehicles and stuff out. So usually they pull this one first, and then sometimes they'll replace the other one later. This is a more space-heavy deck, so he may have preferred to get the other one. I mean, his pilots forfeit for quite a bit, so being immune to less than 4 isn't, or 5 with Mahdi out, isn't that groundbreaking. Yodad's going to counter. He's going to get his docking bay, get his systems. Looks like he had a couple systems in hand. And then he matches for Luke Skywalker with R2 and Red 5. And he's going to play this Luke, not the new one. This is the older Luke who retrieves the Force or gets Dark Lighter Spin, which lets you also pull the All Wings Dark Lighter Spin combo, which could then let you pull out more matching ships, and then the pilots that are in your deck. But plenty of activation now for both players with multiple battlegrounds on the table, and then the bonus from mob points, which gives you +2 force for each docking bay, 1 for each docking bay you occupy, 2 if you control. So, and Piet he deploys -2 to the Executor. Oh, we get a Tarkin's Bounty. Tarkin's Bounty is going to let him fish a card out. I want to see what his choices are. But Piet deploys -2 to the Executor. That does include the sights. Same thing with guys that say like they deploy free aboard home 1 or deploy - to home 1 or anything like that. It does also include the sights. And then once per game he gets the Admiral's Order or Commander. Usually it's an Admiral's Order that he will pull. Occasionally he'll pull a Commander. Worth noting that Admiral Mahdi, right here in his lower, Senior Navy Commander. That does make him a Commander as well as an Admiral. So Piet could pull Mahdi if necessary, so you don't have to waste one of your Endor shield pulls on Mahdi. Usually it's Piet and Ozzel or Piet and Thrawn, depending on how you get guys up. Usually it's Ozzel because he deploys for free, and then you've got your matching ship and stuff here. Occasionally, you'll get Mahdi or Thrawn, depending on the matchups and what your opponent might have. Like against Diplo, where you need more power right away, you might go for Mahdi. But we do see Domination as well, which will let him retrieve Imperials for winning battles. So having the immunity to attrition isn't quite as important, because if he loses pilots, he's got a pretty good way of getting them back. But anywho, he's playing Tarkin's Bounty, and I kind of, immediately take one card into hand from force pile. So it's a free force push. He only deploys on leaders and stuff though, but I did want to try and pause it to try and catch what his options are. Okay, so this is what he's got to choose from in his used pile, or force pile rather. So he's got the other Admiral's Order. We don't need that. Justice could come in handy. Veers is a great choice. The 2 sites in there is terrible because it means he's not going to really have much that he can pull using his objective. But if he spends a bunch of force, he'll circle them all back through. Pilots, Marek Steel's not bad. Command isn't bad, to limit them from drawing multiple destinies, which is the same thing as kind of what Justice would do. He doesn't slide this over. He's got 14 force. So you're trying to think, could he flip this turn if he wanted to? He's only got 2 sites out, so the answer to that is no, because you have to control 3. So if he took a site, yeah, it's not looking good. He could take a site, deploy the site, deploy Emperor to 1, Blizzard Walker to 1, move Piet to the docking bay and flip, and then like consolidate some people around. He's got enough force to do all that, but it might not be necessary to kind of limit yourself to just those options this early on. I don't play Entanglements a heck of a lot, and I know obviously you want to try and flip as quickly as you can, but at the same point in time you also don't want to leave yourself exposed, and decks like more space-heavy decks like Yavin 4 Operations, they tend to play a lot of EPPs, really as their ground presence to try and clear their opponent off the ground, or at least keep them honest on the ground. So you could be looking at EPP Obi or Qui-Gon or the new Rey EPP pretty quick, and you don't want to get yourself spread out too thin and end up taking unnecessary battle damage. So he's an opt for Veers. Veers is definitely a much safer play, because you can go Veers Tempest 1 with what he's got in hand. We'll see if we see Piet move over anyway. Yeah, he's going to document transit Piet over and just kind of play it safe. Again, not in any rush, no pressure, no need to force something that could expose you this early. Entanglements is a deck that really likes to take its time. It's very methodical in the way, at least this version. The Trooper version is just, balls to the wall, drop everything you can on the table, and just hope you can just out damage your opponent before they have a chance to weather the storm. So Yodad's going to drain at Narshada. He's got to pay 3 to do it because Battle Order's out. He's going to try to use Restore Freedom. We'll pause that real quick. So Restore Freedom, if you just force drained, may draw Destiny. Add 1 for each piloted unique snub fighter. Snub fighters are A, B, X, and Y wings, and Z95, so A, B, X, Y, Z. It's basically how that works. Death totals greater than 5. Opponent loses a force, which then gets stacked under the system, and then it makes the force drains there are +1, and it makes their opponent's starships deploy +1 to that system. And then they get their card back if they drain you there. So if you run away and then they get here and force drain you there, they get their card back, and then it's not liberated anymore. So it's good. It encourages some interaction a little bit with these types of decks, but he's got to draw greater than, basically has to draw a 5 because he adds 1 for the ship here, and he comes up short and draws 3, so he misses. Luke's going to grab the Dark Lighter Spin, and then he's going to use it, and that's prime grabber bait in this deck. He already grabbed Rescue in the Clouds as well with his free grabber, so he's used 2 grabbers pretty quickly, but I can't think of anything else that he would really be overly pressed to want to grab right away. So All Wings is obviously the one that's going to help him set up his ships. It's also the one that's going to get around things like Justice and Command. Why is that not full screen? There we go. Help him get around things like Justice and Command that would limit them to drawing one because you do the spin first and then draw the second destiny because it doesn't count against your total. And now Queso's going to play I Can't Shake Him. During opponent's deploy phase, download an Imperial of ability greater less than 3, except an Admiral, aboard your starship. So he's going to go get a second pilot to back up Ozzel. There's a couple of good ones usually, like DS615, Colonel Wolf Yularen, that are excellent candidates because of their low deploy, high forfeit. Their 2-5 is their ratio, and then with Arrest Order out, they get +2. So they're basically forfeit 7 for 2 force, and then they add a little bit of power as well. Then he's just going to move Luke over in front. We still have yet to see Queso get that Executor out, which I would expect. Well, he doesn't want to grab it now because he's afraid of shuffling his sights through, but if he had grabbed that earlier, he would have some different options here. So now he's got to play the guessing game. He only gets 12, so he might not be able to. He wouldn't be able to afford it, but well, you could put it down. I take that back. He could because Ozzel subtracts 1, so he could drop it and battle with Ozzel, but he's going to drain on the ground first, and then he's going to go get another site. It is in there, so it's 12 deploy, 12 power, and this is that Luke, so this isn't the one that adds a destiny to attrition, so just not have to worry too much. But Entanglements sometimes doesn't. They like to battle on their terms. This is the kind of thing where they like to sit back. Oh, hang on. Queso's live in the chat, so he's responding to some of my commentary and feedback. I want to see what he's been typing so far. Yeah, probably. Should have grabbed him on opposite grabbers. I don't know about that one. I think you want him paying for all wings rather than rescuing the clouds. Unless you're running multiple close calls or something. Alright. So he's going to get a site. He's going to use the Admiral's Order here, which gets him a combat vehicle. He'll use that and pull Blizzard 4. Blizzard 4 is going to let him get a free Imperial, and he goes for Marek Steel, the Emperor's Reach. While piloting, opponent may not cancel or substitute battle destiny draws here. This guy is great in this situation. You just got to find a way to get him up here. He could have flipped with exactly what he's got on the board right now. If he had put Blizzard 4 here and deployed him there to this site, then what he does is Marek gets out, Blizzard 4 moves over, he flips, and then he shuttles Marek up to the system. That's another way he could have flipped there. Let's see how. I'm sure he's going to eventually. There's a second rescue in the clouds. So Yodad's going to fish through 3 more cards. And he's going to move the other way, I'm guessing. Oh, he shuttled up before moving. And then he shuttled Ozzel back down. So now Ozzel's by himself. And then Piet gets off, and then Piet shuttles up. So he's doing this the hard way. And then moving the Blizzard Walker over. So basically, he spent at least 3 extra force, I think. 1 to move Ozzel down. 1 to move Piet up. Because he still would have moved the Blizzard Walker and still would have moved Marek either way. So he spent 2 extra force. They didn't need to, which could be 2 more cards he could draw with a 5-card hand. That would be pretty helpful. Doesn't have any Imperials to retrieve yet, which is what the 7 side of the objective does. And now he's got to pay 1 for maintenance. So he only got really to draw 1 card here. which was another copy of I Can't Shake Him, but I don't know that he's going to have a way to anybody. One of the biker scouts deploys for one. Elsic, I think it is. Ooh, we got a peek at Yodad's reserve deck. Saw a bunch of red and an X-wing cannon, so that's never good. Projection's kind of a pain. Tarkin's bounty, I think, only blocks like Leia from canceling drains, doesn't stop the opponent from modifying them or anything. So, and there's that dreaded gold leader and gold one. Boo. Oh, and he's going to get Poe Dameron on it as well. Yeah, this could be bad. Let's see. Alright, so gold leader and gold one. We've reviewed him before. Opponent may not react to here and must first use one force to draw a card for Battle Destiny here. So if he's trying to draw multiple Destiny, you got to spend multiple force. Can get pretty expensive. He also put down enhanced proton torpedoes, which he's going to fire and try and take a shot at the Devastator. I think he would need like a 7 to hit that. It's armor 6. Add 1 if targeting a capital. So if he drew a 6, he would have hit it. I don't think anybody adds to it. Yeah, so he came off just by 1, but he does play slight weapons malfunction, so he's going to add a 3rd battle destiny. Not good. Oh, and then he's going to play power pivot. Yeah, you kind of see space weapons and your proton torpedoes, and that's kind of the one you have to smell coming. However, Colonel Wolf Yularen is there, and he says, while aboard a starship, its power may not be reduced by opponent. So power pivot in this situation didn't do anything, and Yodad just wasted that card unnecessarily. And I don't know that he realized he did that yet. Maybe they'll revert and fix it, but at this point in time, power pivot didn't do anything. Pivot! Just that scene from Friends where they're trying to move Ross. Just hear pivot over and over again. So yeah, Queso, you did a good job grabbing the right guy when you, I can't shake him. I can't shook him. Yeah. But he does draw pretty high and he gets 10. So 10's going to kill 2 guys. And all of these ships here are immune to less than 5. So that little 3 is not going to cut it. So he's got to peel 10 guys. It's going to be Piet and Yularen, probably. I might want to lose Piet and Marek. He does lose Yularen. You're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't, because obviously you don't want Yularen canceling your battle destinies or substituting with a spin. But at the same point in time, you also don't want to get hit with power pivot again in a future turn. And you kind of need that guy to prevent that from happening. And Yodad's going to draw some cards. So maybe now he'll fish out his Executor. Probably not, because he's still looking at, 2 battle destiny with the destiny being canceled, and yeah. He gets a drain of 1. He peeks at 3 cards and takes Thrawn. The Executor is one of the cards he could take, so at least he knows it's in his reserve deck. He'll look. His other sight is in there, but let's see what else we've got to work with. So he can get the ship out, and he's got the sight here. Pretty decent destinies otherwise. A bunch of 4s, a couple of 2s in there. But with his opponent kind of stacking up multiple ships, committing multiple ships to the system, moving away is not a bad idea here. Come back another time. Take the Executor into hand, make your opponent start sweating where you're going to put it. And then move the Devastator away. Send the Devastator to Yavin 4. You're not playing, occupation, so you don't need to control the Tatooine system. There's no benefit to you. He only flips you back if he controls more sites than you do. So this seems like a good time to just cut your losses, run away, make him either chase you or spread out. You've got 3 battlegrounds, so you could pull resistance as a 4th shield if necessary here. Hey, there's some troopers. Those guys are pretty cool. So you can pull resistance, so that way even if he does successfully, because he's got 3 snub fighters here, successfully liberate the system, which he probably should, then you wouldn't have to worry about being drained for more than 2. Still go get the Executor, though. Jerry, get Executor. Get it in hand. Make opponent nervous about big Star Destroyer. So there he goes. He's going to pay and he's going to drain. Pretty straightforward. That's going to be good enough. That'll get stacked. You should also have played Domination by now, too. This should also be on the table. Because you occupy more locations than your opponent, and if you win a battle, you retrieve an Imperial. It doesn't have to be a battle you initiate. If they're dumb enough to come battle you and you win, you get to retrieve one of your guys you just lost. So, it also lets you redraw. You take an Imperial just drawn for Destiny into hand to cancel and redraw that Destiny. So if we... Please hold. Because I forget what he drew that last battle. It was a 3, wasn't it? It was the vehicle? Yeah, it was the Tempest Scout, I think. During that first battle. Sorry. Yeah, it was a Tempest Scout, so you couldn't redraw on that one, so no harm there. Okay. We proceed. He's going to Unita the power pivot back. Ugh. Stupid power pivot. And that's probably why I would have kept or considered keeping Colonel Wolf Yularen over Marek. Because at this point in time, you're just not gonna battle where Wedge is. Wedge is already on the table, so you just don't battle where Wedge is. Your objective with Entanglements is to do more damage on the ground and just kind of keep a presence in space, so you don't have to pay for all these little pings of 1. Oh God. He flipped his objective. While this side up, during battles at sites related to systems you occupy, for each piloted unique snub fighter present at that system, your total power is +2. So he's got 3 snub fighters there, so his total power is +6. Ouch. So, plus the text on the system says your total power in battle is +1 for each starship here. So he's really adding +9 to his total power, plus the 8 from these guys. This is actually pretty insane there. There you go, kids. Maybe this beats Black Sun. You just stack all your ships at Coruscant and then just send guys on the ground, and you're like power +20 in every battle. So he draws 2 solid 5s, because his deck has lots of those between the interrupts and the weapons and stuff. And he's going to cause some overflow. Corran Horn dies. But it's going to be Ozzel for 6, the Blizzard Walker for 5, and he's going to have to peel 4 cards. That's unfortunate. That's not much you can do about that. To think that he'd have a couple of ground characters and you've got good power and forfeit, there's not much you could really do about that. Will he do something crazy like land a ship to try and flip back? Nah, he's just going to move over. Is he going to move all 3 ships over though? He can't move all 3 ships over. He's just going to move Poe. Alright, he took the power pivot back to hand. It starts to make you think, like, does he have a weapon that deploys as a react that you'd have to worry about? Ooh, hey, Vader. That's always a great top deck when you're like, hey, what card can I take into hand? And you're like, oh, choke Vader. Like, go choke Lando, get him the heck out of there. But first things first, gotta drain and follow through. Don't get too excited and jump your control phase right into your deploy phase. Ew, those were gross. So Vader, no chokey, nobody. Especially when you're going to get outpowered by, like, you know, Lando's power 12, plus he's going to retrieve a card and make himself even more power. I mean, right now it's just a 1 on top, but if he finds a way to lose something better, I mean, Lando would be like power 13. Yeah, Barrack's pretty good. See, we don't like battling here. He retrieves Luke and gets up to power 13. That didn't look very promising. When we checked his reserve deck, there's like a 1 in 4 chance he hits this? Yeah. But it does get him a guy into hand. It gets him Elsic, who's like the worst character of the 3 he wanted. Mara with lightsaber and Tarkin were in there too, so he'd rather have one of them. I mean, he will kill Lando, which is good because he'll at least keep his opponent paying to drain. He gets lucky and blind draws the 5, but if he draws the 1, Vader wouldn't cover. He'd be peeling a couple more cards again too. So he got a little lucky there, just a little bit in the order in which those things happened. And his opponent draws yet another 5, which you'd kind of come to expect at this point. Down goes Vader. Down goes Vader. But he does get rid of Lando. So again, he's going to end up paying to drain. And now you have to wonder, where's the Devastator going? Is it going back to Tatooine? I wouldn't send it back to Tatooine just yet. He's got the power pivot in hand, and he's got the weapon. And you don't have Colonel Wolf Yularen. So that's going to be a power 0 Devastator. So it's going to be 10 to 0. And your Destiny on top of your deck isn't overly great right now. I mean, you can fish out another pilot. You've got Marek there. Thrawn. So I'm going to get you a second Destiny. Mahdi. Who just adds a little more power, but power doesn't really matter when you're going to be power 0 from the power pivot. So I don't know I would have moved back just yet to Tatooine. He is going to play I Can't Shake Him to go get another pilot. And instead of picking the DS, who forfeits for 7, he takes Commander Desan, who forfeits for 5. Probably would not have been what I'd done either. And there's a third rescue in the clouds. Yeah, I mean, alright, so he's playing 3 of them. Kudos to him. But I don't know that. What we're trying. Whoa. He wants to revert all the way back to like the beginning of his turn. I would say no to that, but maybe these guys are just kind of casually playing things here. At this point in time, you've drawn Destiny, you've looked at cards on the top of your deck, taken cards into hand. That's way too far to go back in any type of competitive game, so he forgot to retrieve with Luke. Oh well. Uh, I was going to say, if he did all that in his control phase, and that was the last action, you could just revert back one step. You don't need to go all the way back to the beginning of the whole damn turn. Um, all right, so he retrieves with Luke, gets Lando back, puts Walkling out of play. He's going to get Corrin back too. Yeah, it wasn't an OCS game. Still a casual game, but and he's going to get this. See, you had a second chance at him, and you took a different guy this time. He still gets Dasan. So, again, now if you're reverting back, typically when you play the game back forward, everybody kind of takes the same actions they took before, except for the one thing that you corrected. That's just kind of the way the sportsmanship works when you're reverting actions like that. All right, so we get Ray. Like I said, probably a couple EPPs. So here comes Ray with Lightsaber. She's going to move and block Veers. He does not battle in space. Instead, he drops a second projection, really mitigating the ground damage even further. Yodad might be onto something here. This deck might hold up pretty well to Black Sun, now that I'm thinking about it. Projection 2 of their sights. I mean, you're going to get pinged constantly from shadows in the objective, but, you know, if you can pick and choose a few things. Still hasn't taken the Executor into hand. Drops an Emperor. Yeah, there's a bunch of really high Destiny in there. At this point, he almost can't afford to put the Executor out. He's going to replace his Admiral's Order. That'll send the other one used. So he put the 6 back where he can track it. But yeah, at this point, he's probably just... he initiates battle. Ray dodges. And he plays the Gick to cancel the dodge. That'll play. That's a good move. I can't see another situation where you're probably going to need that, especially given being lower in life force at this point. So, draws well, as we knew he would from verifying his deck. So he's got 9 there, so that's pretty solid. Array would cover all that, but he's really just trying to get her off the ground. Again, make him have to pay for that drain in space. And he draws low, he draws a 1. So Veers is going to be just fine. He's going to win the battle. Got to let him retrieve a guy. That's important there. He needs to retrieve all the possible cards he can at this point. He gets Vader back. Ray dies. And he flips back because he doesn't occupy 2 battlegrounds. So that's also minor importance there. He's going to pull the Coward Shield. Stop him from retrieving. He doesn't move. Ooh. That I am not a fan of. Not leaving everybody parked in front of these guys here. I should have moved that Devastator away. That's probably going to be costly. Instead he goes to draw phase and just draws, and then he draws cards. when he's sitting in front of Gold Leader and Gold 1. So there's a couple minor mistakes there. Queso, you were asking about things you might have made minor mistakes. One of them there right there is not moving. The second one is not leaving yourself enough force to pay for Gold Leader. So, hey, oh, he undid the retrieval. He ended up not using Walkling to get Corrin. He used Luke retrieval to get Lando instead, or something like that. He had used Walkling before the revert, so that's a action there that probably should have been redone or something like that. But yeah, his opponent checks. He's going to take a shot. Misses again. I don't know if he has any sixes, but this is the one that's going to hurt. The power pivot, taking 21 power, making it 0. Queso types in chat, I should have moved, but I was doing such little damage. Well, you do even less damage when you have to pay for your drains of 1. So, he's not doing a whole lot of damage to you either. He's doing like a drain a turn in space. So you certainly could have stretched this game out, and that's what Entanglements really wants to do. They want to stretch the game out, much like QMC. They just stretch the game out, pick and choose everything on their terms, and really just grind out wins. It's a very methodical, very controlled base deck. It's probably why I don't enjoy playing it, because it just takes too damn long. So, yeah. So he's going to go ahead and concede here because he doesn't have enough force to draw 2 Battle Destiny. He's only getting 1 there. And he's going to be down like 20 in total power, which is going to cause him to have to basically forfeit like every pilot on their ship. And then he doesn't have much else going after that. So, yeah, he retrieved the power pivot with the Unita and kind of staying in front of multiple ships with the weapon was not the ideal situation for how to play that. So hopefully we all learn from Queso's mistakes. Thank you very much for sharing this game link. We appreciate that, and we'll move on to do one more here and see what we can learn from this next game. In the chat, he writes, "Is that deck just bad for IE?" Yeah, I mean, IE has problems with decks, particularly decks with space weapons that usually like shoot their capital ships. Um, the Devastator does have a problem with that, being only armor 6. Usually they can't hit the Executor, but power pivot is a pain in the ass, which is why keeping Colonel Yularen over Marek Steele may have been the better choice there, so that way he can never reduce the power of the ship. And then you could have, just continued to mitigate through things. Yeah, he's canceling one of your destinies with Wedge. Probably, spin's going to cost him a couple. Maybe he gets 1 spin through. But, you get Justice, hopefully, which I think you lost early to a drain. But you should have commands to kind of limit him a little bit, or to add extra destiny for yourself. And then Thrawn as well. But the Devastator is going to be tough to protect, which is why you kind of want to get the Executor out early and then shift your pilots to that ship instead. That way he can't shoot. I mean, if he had ever drawn a 6 and hit that ship, I mean, you're pretty much looking at game over at that point. But one of the things I have heard, Tom talk about a lot, because he talks a lot about how much he hates space weapons, is this type of scenario where you've got 6 or 7 pilots all piled up on your power 20, 25 ship that you've committed all your force to, and then they just play like a weapon and set up a destiny and shoot it. He could have set up a second R2 in Red 5, or maybe like a Rebel artillery or something like that, and just hit this ship, and then it's lights out. So it's kind of why you want to spread it around as much as you can. Keep away from keep away from the ships with the guns as much as possible, and just kind of grind it out on the ground as much as you can. You're looking at card counts. He's slightly ahead of you. You're both doing like 2 damage, but you can retrieve like a guy a turn, depending on how you forfeit your troopers and stuff. And he's doing 2 damage back, and you'll pick off his guys on the ground to make him pay for his damage. So, I mean, there's ways to maneuver things around. And of course, if you had gotten the Executor on the table at any point in this game, um, that certainly could have forced him to deploy and stack his ships differently as well. So, we'll move on to game number 2. Game number 2 was submitted to us by Tacobill. Tacobill is playing Hunt Down and Destroy the Jedi. Old favorite deck of mine, of course. He'll be playing against Killerkiwi, who we featured a couple of times here, our Star Wars documentarian, who will be playing WAP. We look at the 3 effects that Killerkiwi has used. Hang on, I gotta get some water. Always when you feel that scratchiness coming in the back of your throat when you've just been babbling for 40 minutes, always a good time to take a sip. Okay, so I start in Crush the Rebellion, which is pretty typical for Darkside mains decks, because 2 things you want out of this. You want I Have You Now, because you're probably playing against Jedi Lukes and Rebels and things like that, and you want to add multiple Battle Destiny. Possibly get an Evader Monarch to limit their hand size, and most importantly, you want to cancel Clash of Sabers, which is always the bane of a lot of Darkside decks. Is that light side trick, Clash of Sabers. Coincidentally, the cards that cancel You Are Beaten are not nearly as good or usable, so Darkside should take more advantage of that card while they still can. And then he's going to start IAO Secret Plans, probably pull a couple docking bays for force activation, and I Am Your Father, which is the one, of course, that lets the good Vaders deploy for cheaper and get his lightsaber repeatedly. Kiwi, he's playing the WAP objective. We haven't featured this one too much. He's starting. This one's limited to the number of characters you can play. A lot of Episode 1 guys and then some aliens. So you won't see any and Republic characters. So you won't see any Rebels in this deck unless they also have the dual affiliation alien icon. Typically, same thing with Resistance characters. So you won't get to see Rey, but you may see Chewie with Bowcaster and Solo, because since they are alien, they can be used in this deck even though they're also something else. Or you could use one of the Chewies that's a dual icon Rebel. But those are pretty inferior to the Chewie Bowcaster. Gets to activate Force while he's not flipped pretty much once per turn, so it's on both turns. So it gets great activation on the 0 side. Loses a little bit when it flips. Then you've got We'll Take the Long Way, which lets makes Imperials deploy +1 to Theed Palace Throne Room. That's not even on the 0 side. It's just ever. For the rest of the game, Imperials are deploy +1. See, there's this weird little period right here that's hard to see. Just as if we have a plan table, deploy on table, and then the new sentence. So this is always. And then while you occupy that site, you can ignore your objective restrictions. So the objective has deployment restrictions. You can't deploy to the throne room. You have to deploy outside of the courtyard and then sneak in, kind of like the movie. Cypher tried to make it thematic like that. It was pretty clever. But it took too long and it was really hard to pull off. So the PC found some ways to speed that up. One of them being the hallway, which is the virtual hallway, which once per game lets you get the virtual Ascension Guns card. And you also move to here using land speed for free. So you deploy guys here, they walk to here for free. Then you pull the virtual Ascension Guns, and the Ascension Gun says during your deploy phase you can relocate any number of characters from here to the throne room, and they get to skip over any sites in between. Again, thematic, but it does really help speed up the deck, and because it is deploy phase, they can move in. Now they occupy, so now they get around the objective restrictions because of We'll Take the Long Way, and then they can deploy a bunch of other guys and then battle and clear the site. So, typically you might see, first turn they'll put the queen here for cheap, and then Panaka deploys for free with her, and then they walk in. Other thing is while we have a plan on table, that's the 0 side of the objective, force icons here are canceled, so this becomes a 1-0. Dark side doesn't get this icon until light side flips their objective. So unless they have a spy, they can't even deploy here. So they deploy here, they move in where they're safe. It's really hard for dark side to do much to counter this. And then deploy phase, they move these guys into the throne room and deploy multiple guys to back them up. and beat the crap out of anybody who went down there early. And that's typically what Darkside wants to do to keep them from flipping, because the flip side's objective is kind of ridiculous. We'll take a quick peek at it. While this side up, you lose no more than 2 force to any force drain. So every drain is capped at 2. It's a built-in ultimatum. Pretty awesome. Something about starships being more power. Okay, that's not bad. If opponent just drew a battle destiny greater than 3, use 1 force to cancel it. Not limited at all. Just greater than 3, pay a force and cancel it. If they draw 5 destiny in a battle, because they play I Have You Now and a bunch of other battle destiny adders, and you've got 5 force, you can pay the 5 force and cancel them all. Kind of crazy, kind of silly. And then on top of that, because that's not a good enough benefit, during your control phase, opponent loses 2 force for each battleground site you control with Amidala or Panaka. So it's got some built-in direct damage, kind of like Prophet does. For Amidala and Panaka, it does require you to control the site. And of course, Imperial Decree does kind of reduce that and limit that damage, which is pretty commonly played in most dark side decks. But let's get this game rolling here. But yeah, WAP is it's a very powerful deck, especially once it gets rolling. It does have some limitations, like we said, with the character restrictions, and then in terms of it's more of a ground-based deck, a lot like Prophet is, and in terms of what it can play in space, it's fairly limited, especially because it's also limited to Republic starships and things. Excuse me. But as the hunt down player, it's weird because especially if you don't see, he popped Insight, for which he started for his 3rd effect. He probably took Honor with that, which will help get around the Visage damage. Let me just scroll back up real quick. Yeah, I'm sure he took Honor. Smart thing to do. It's what I would do, and it's what most people would do. If you're playing Insight and you're playing Honor, that's what you use it for. Okay, so he's going to play Vane, who's one of our new V9 cards. Deploys -3 to a site with Vader in game text. That would be both Executor sites. Either or, if Vader alone here, blah 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 blah, or if Vader on table, Force Generation +1. So Vane, very cheaply, only deploys for 1 force to either of these sites. Very good addition to Hunt Down. Definitely helps that deck get some extra activation, which then frees up a couple of other deck slots. So instead of playing like multiple copies of, like we must accelerate our plans to get the bridge, and then Sonic Bombardments to get the Cloud City Prison and the Cloud City 2/2 site that we see in his hand here. You can take the accelerates out of the deck, play a couple of Vanes instead, and use Vane to block and protect Visage from being canceled so easily by just a cheap spy, and then get your 2-0 location that way. And Mustafar Castle is also a pretty cool site because once per game you can download Vader there, so you get Vader out from your reserve deck, and then during your move phase, Vader can move between here and any battleground site. So you pull Vader from here in on your move phase, you send him out wherever you need him. And if he's in over his head, he retreats back to his castle, regroups, and then goes right back out. Also a very good way, especially in Hunt Down or something like Bring Him Before Me, where you need Vader where their big guys are. So you put Vader here at the throne room, or something like that, and they play another site. They play the battle planes, and he's all the way over here. And you're like, well, it's gonna take me like 3 or 4 turns to walk all the way out there. You're like, or I can bounce him back to the castle and then bounce him out to the battle planes, and then or if he's on another planet or something, kind of even better if he's on another planet. See that sometimes where, you might put him down at the Cloud City site, and then they finally get Luke out at the battle planes, and you're like, oh, how am I going to get there? And you're like, oh, I'll just move him to the castle, and the next turn I'll move him here. So it's a good way for Vader to get where he needs to go. So that's a pretty cool site. Also from V9. He's going to pay 6 for the Emperor. The Emperor is not bad, especially with Force Lightning. But by doing this, he spends all his Force. Doesn't really give him the opportunity to draw any cards. And he has to top deck one because he kind of likes everything in hand. Now his opponent's going to play Honor of the Jedi, so he's not going to lose to Visage for a little while until No Escape makes its way out. And that's going to make it difficult to do when you're not drawing a lot of cards and things like that. So as we expected, here comes Panaka and the Queen. Now this other thing, this will take the long way. Also, once per game, lets you take a Coruscant, an Episode 1 icon system, and or a Theed icon leader. A Theed icon leader being Amidala, Panaka, and there may possibly be one or two other random Bobos who qualify as leaders and have the Theed Palace icon. But these are the two that typically you're going to get. Usually they run like 2 Queen and like 1 Panaka. If you get a Queen in your opening hand, you pull a Panaka. If you don't get a Queen, then you make sure and you grab her. He also has a blaster for her. So we may see a good blaster at your side card, which is another way to cause another source of direct damage. But he does move over, which they move for free, so there's no reason not to. So he spent very little force because the Queen deploys -1, Panaka deploys for free to the Queen, so it's a very efficient first turn, letting you draw multiple cards. Then you get to activate for your objective on their turn and your turn and things like that. So Alright, so we'll see if Tacobill is going to use the location. Alright, so he's got multiple options here for which Vader to get. We see he's got 3 Lord Vader and 1 Vader's Betrayer. Lord Vader being better with a weapon for hitting people. His defense value is +2. He adds 1 to each of his draws. So it makes him very good at hitting high forfeit or high ability or high defense value characters. Queen Amidala does add 2 to the defense value of most of these guys, making them all 5s and 6s. So Lord Vader certainly works out pretty well there. But the other thing there with Vader Betrayer, not only do you initiate battles for free, but he can cancel the game text of opponent's character of ability less than 4. That can come into to play here because a number of the resistance or Republic characters, are ability less than 4. You've got your clone guys like Cody and Rex, which all have interesting texts. Rex adds a Battle Destiny and has a weapon. Cody cancels a Battle Destiny when he's with Rex. And then, of course, you've got Jarrus Janik, who gets forfeited with Amidala or Leia to cover all attrition and battle damage against you at that site. So that's probably the one I would recommend getting. He's going for Beefy Vader instead. Now he'll use the move phase action, and he'll bounce Vader over. So between Force Lightning used, making people defense value -4, and Vader adding 1 to each weapon destiny, it's mathematically impossible for him to miss anyone of ability less than or defense value less than 6. Because he doesn't have 2 locations left in his deck. Actually, you can't imagine he'd miss anybody at this point. Even if he draws 2 1s, he'd still hit them. Maybe with a dodge or something. I'm sure there's a mathematical way to do it, but it's like 99% unlikely to happen. All right, so there's the Ascension guns that we were talking about. That lets him relocate these guys here in the deploy phase. Now he's got 12 force, well 13 because he activates ones with the objective, and he can deploy guys at will right now to the throne room and get around his objective restrictions. So we're going to see him deploy the new General Kenobi. Pretty cool graphic, set 9 card. During battle, if alone or with a clone, he can activate 1 force or add 1 to a just drawn destiny. Doesn't say your destiny, so if they happen to draw a 3 and you're like, I wish I was flipped, and if I'm flipped and I wish I could cancel that, it's like you could just add 1 to their destiny to make it a 4 and then cancel it with your objective. Once per game, he can upload a clone or a lightsaber, and he's immune to less than 6. So he's got the option to get the lightsaber from the reserve deck or get the clone. He takes the lightsaber instead. This lightsaber has the benefit of adding 1 if targeting a Dark Jedi. So there's some Dark Jedi to swing at. He's also a general, so you can play things like Rebel Leadership to limit them for battle destinies or to add extras for your own. And now we're going to get a couple of clones. Once per turn, if you just drew a destiny of 5, may take that card into hand. During any deploy phase, may use one force to target a Dark Jedi present, draw a destiny. If destiny equals 5, target loses immunity to attrition for remainder of turn. So the potential threat of that has caused Tacobill to play his Force Lightning Lost now, because one of the requirements of Force Lightning Lost, Emperor loses immunity to attrition and his defense value -2 for remainder of turn. If the Emperor loses his immunity to attrition, you can't Force Lightning Lost people, because it's part of the cost and you no longer have immunity to forfeit, to give up. But in order to do that, he'd have to spend a force, target the Emperor, and draw a 5. I don't know how many 5s he's got in his deck. Maybe he's got like 8 or 10 in there. I mean, it's WAP. They've got some good cards, but they also have a lot of, 4 Destiny interrupts and characters and things like that they want to play. I don't know that I would have rushed this move, simply because of the threat here of 5s, that I would have tried to take a shot at Amidala, especially again because her and your other holy characters are defense value +2, so she's defense value 6. So I mean, you got a blind draw a 6, and you've already got Image and Phantom Menace in your hand. Seems like those are pretty low odds that that's going to work. Almost feels like he just threw away his Force Lightning. He draws Maul. He Sith Furies the Maul, take Maul into hand, but then misses. I don't know, maybe he forgot that Amidala adds 2 to all their defense values and figured he had a good shot at drawing a 4 or something like that. But now Vader's going to get his immunity to attrition potentially canceled. Oh, he missed. Oh, he's in chat now too. Hey, welcome. I forgot she was +2. Yeah, it's kind of figured what we expected, or at least what I expected there. You probably didn't realize. I mean, blind draw on a 4 in a Dark Side mains deck like Huntdown, yeah, that can happen pretty consistently. And as you saw, he would have hit a 4 with the Blizzard 4 there. So I wouldn't have faulted him for doing that if it was a 4, but at defense value 6, that's pretty thin. He's got to take a swing at Panaka here. He might miss. Panaka's defense value 5. Oh, never mind. There you go. So that'll be hit. Forfeit 0. We'll have to lose a force. But Ana reduces that. Ugh. Slight weapons malfunction. Battle Destiny adder for firing a blaster. Or any weapon other than a lightsaber. And given that you've got Commander or Captain Rex, who's got a built-in blaster, and yeah, any weapon other than a lightsaber was just fired. So oh, but he drew Yoda for Battle Destiny, which is pretty low. But Emperor lost his immunity to attrition. I mean, he's down in power by 7, so he had to forfeit somebody anyway. So chances are the Emperor was going to die. But also drawing a 2 with the Evader Monarch is pretty bad, especially because that's a card he could have pulled out of his deck first. To to make sure he didn't end up drawing it for Destiny, because the other stupid thing that Amidala does, all your other Republic characters, oh, her and all your Republic characters, in addition to being defense value +2, are also immune to URB in Sniper and attrition less than 3. So if this objective flips, you pretty much can never lose anybody as long as they have enough force, because she makes everybody immune to less than 3. If they draw exactly 3, which cracks that immunity, Kenobi just adds 1 to it to make it a 4, so then the objective can then cancel it. So this kind of little combination here can put a real lockdown if they can flip the objective, which is why you kind of have to keep throwing guys at it. But yeah, it's a little unfortunate that he didn't get the Evader out and draw something a little higher that would have made him forfeit an additional character. Because now he's pretty well, fairly well fortified there. Grab the Gick, get the 1 out of the deck. There you go. And now Dark Side's losing to Visage and Light Side isn't. He top decks 1 and loses the other Vader. So he's got 11 force. Oh, he does have the Cloud City Docking Bay. Okay, so he's got at least that. Did he activate 1 with Vane? I don't think he's done that yet. I don't know if he's remembered he can do that. I haven't been paying attention to see if he's done that on previous turns. Usually it would do it after you pull stuff. So you pull the Docking Bay, get that going. All right, now he's got the platform out. Okay, so he's going to use 1 there and activate 1 with Vane, so that's good. So he's got 12. Darth Maul's a good guy to deploy for 12. I'd put Dengar down too and just take some shots at some of these lower guys just to try and hit as many guys as you possibly can. I would not battle, though. I would not initiate this battle. I would let him battle me. And here's why. I'm going to pause this for a second. If you battle him and if he has some type of trick that he decides to play now because you've got multiple weapons, keep your eyes open, a Jedi's concentration, something that stops a lot of this, then you're not going to have a whole lot left to come back with. You're going to lose some people here. All right, you know what? Screw it. Let's just battle. Maul's immune to attrition because of Phantom Menace. Vader's immune to less than 6, so you lose Dengar. And whoever gets hit by these weapons, because you don't have a force field or anything like that. They're high. They're both defense value 8, so you have a pretty good chance of them being okay. All right, let me back up. I'll explain what I was thinking earlier. So my gut reaction is not to battle here. It's put these guys down in front of him, let him battle you. But you didn't draw any extra cards, so it's not like you really reloaded much in your hand, so you don't have a whole lot to back it up. If he battles you, you hit some guys, they hit some guys, but at least then, you can put Kylo down on your turn and draw a few cards, and you might get some defensive interrupts and things like that. By you battling them here, if whatever guys you don't kill will be left and will come back with friends, and certainly could have the advantage over whatever you have left. So, between Amidala's gun, CT5's here, because it's only during your deploy phase, during any deploy phase. So he didn't try doing that. Oh, he's got to use a force to do it. Okay. He could have tried doing that to cancel Maul's immunity to attrition, or Vader's, to try and force him into having to lose one of these guys. But you've got Amidala's Blaster, which will make somebody power 0. Power and forfeit 0. Destiny greater than defense value. So that's Dengar. Dengar's going to be power and forfeit 0 probably pretty quickly. And then Obi's going to take a swing at one of these guys, and if he hits one of them, it could be trouble. That's all I'm saying. So we'll play it out. He writes in the chat, YOLO. Yeah, well, there you go. So you can take some swings at some people, try and get some people out of here. He's going to hit the queen. She's going to shoot Dengar. I can't see this. I can't imagine this is going to miss. Even half the characters in this deck aren't ones. Oh, look, there's a 5. So if he had done CT5s, he could have canceled the immunity of Maul or Vader. But 5s does also let you take anything that was just a 5 into hand. Now he's going for Kenobi. He left the Force though. Maybe he needed it for something. Maybe he just forgot he could do it. That'll hit. So it certainly does seem like it's working out pretty well here. He writes, other than not battling, not pulling Evader. Yeah, he didn't pull that Evader Monarch again. Oh, he's going to swing at Vader. This looks like a miss. Yep. So this battle seems to like it's going to work out pretty well for Darkseid here. He got an extra swing with Maul. Dengar is going to get 2 shots at the other guy. So the Destinies worked out right. That Darkseid hit everybody. Lightside didn't hit anybody. Oh, that's the weird thing about Amidala's Blaster, too. We're going to let this keep running in the background, but I'm going to pull this off to the side. Amidala's Blaster doesn't actually hit people. It just resets their power and forfeit to 0. So Dengar is not hit. He doesn't have to be lost. There's no condition that requires Dengar to be lost. He's just power and forfeit 0. And because it doesn't specify a phase or anything specific like that until end of turn or not, that's forever. So Dengar, as long as he stays on the table, is power 0 and forfeit 0. So if other people die and Dengar's kind of ends up getting stuck by himself, something like that, he's power and forfeit 0, but still running around. He's going to pull Coward. Coward's smart. Make sure he can't Walkling back, Amidala or anybody after the battle. Put that Walkling out of play. So he forfeits Dengar. Doesn't have to forfeit Dengar. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, he did have to forfeit Dengar because Dengar is not immune to attrition. So forfeiting Dengar satisfied the immunity to attrition requirement, but didn't actually cover any of the battle damage or whatnot. So, oh, my phone's gonna die. Okay. Yeah. So this battle certainly worked out pretty well. Now he'll grab that Evader, get that 2 out of the deck. It was only 2 cards down, so it was pretty close to drawing it. But he got lucky, didn't end up drawing it for a Destiny in there, and did a pretty good job clearing the site, so that worked out pretty well. And now they're pretty well entrenched, and Lightside's got to go all the way out to the beginning and kind of walk in again, which certainly could slow them down. Now, this is where as you see Tacobill come down to the table. This is where WAP goes into mitigation mode, which is they tend to play a projection of a Skywalker, which they put here to make this drain -1, and then you put Tacobill at this 1-0 site, which makes 4 strains at adjacent sites are -1. So you do that, and then that would make this drain like only 1. So then their battle plans out, and then they're paying 3 to drain for 1. You don't have the projection yet, so it's still 2 for now. But you imagine he will find that projection at some point, and I believe you can Walkling for it. So he'll get that out and kind of start mitigating a little, making that damage even worse. Um, but it only works if they have somewhere else that they can go to do damage to you. Now, right now, neither player is losing to Visage. If there was a Jedi or something like out here, and Darkside was losing to Visage, then Lightside could just afford to just sit back and not really care and just be like, yeah, you're draining me. You're paying 3 to drain for 1 in the throne room, but you're losing 2 force a turn from your own Visage, so I come out ahead on that deal. Swap gets a whole bunch of force. And there they go. Say they put the Qui-Gon out there, probably put, 1 or 2 other. They could potentially put another guy or 2 with him, but you've seen, you see IAO, so you know he's not doing Ellis or anything like that. You got to worry about these guys Ellising out. And you've got Vader, Maul, and Kylo all stacked up here, and Emperor can't deploy out there, so the and Vane is already on the table, so it's like, what other guys does Darkseid have? Dengar's already dead. There might be like a Sidious or a Dooku, a P-59, a Dr. E, um, but none of those guys, they might battle and draw Destiny and kill Qui-Gon, but they might end up taking some damage back in return. Now he adds Dr. E to that pile. He throws Image on that site out there, so now he's not getting drained for anything outside. But he is losing to his own Visage. And that's going to force Tacobill to have to do something instead of just sitting back. But he does take this opportunity to draw some cards as well. See what he can find. So Dr. E and Darth Maul, the bosom buddies as they are. Draws into a force push, and I have you now. This card will be very useless. I have you now in this matchup. And instead he top dikes First Strike instead of losing the I have you now from hand in a deck that can't play Rebels. Okay. Oops. Amidala gets a second gun. Oh, he's going to try and Jedi Lev to retrieve a guy, but Coward's going to cancel that because this isn't a battleground. They're going to back up. That's awfully nice of Tacobill to let him back up and do that. It's weird because you look at this site and you say, oh, look, icons. This is a battleground. But, yeah, no, it's not. So he'll deploy Rex and move over. Now, Rex, well, he's only at a battleground site, Episode 1 battleground. He adds a Destiny. But what does this clone trooper do? Fire weapon at an undercover spy. Yeah, that's all he does is shoot spies. So these guys don't really have any synergy together. He loses the I have you now on that one. Okay. Force push. Force push is good. You've got options there. You had quite a couple of characters in there. Mara, P-59. All cards that seem pretty useful. P-59 is pretty good too because he causes direct damage. But he doesn't have enough Destiny. He could be forfeit fodder in this instant. There's to keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open prevents all weapons from being fired. Ooh. Rebel ambush. What the heck is this card do? Please hold. If a battle was just initiated at a site, each of your troopers present is power +1 and immune to attrition for a remainder of turn. Okay, so he's got 2 troopers there. He's got Rex and Top. Ooh. I can Sith Fury that, luckily. Okay. And Kiwi's finally going to grab that card after the second time he's played it. Seems to make sense. And they both draw characters, and Jedi left them back. Okay. Bear with me for just a second here. My phone's about to die, and since I'm using that to watch Twitch, I need to find one of my extra USB ports in the back of my computer to plug in my charger. Oh, alright. We're just going to go run and grab my charger real fast. Please hold. Alright, sorry about that. So, want to make sure I could keep up with the Twitch chat, but phone battery was getting a little low there, so. Alright, so now he's going to move out. He battled, he didn't get quite the clear he wanted, so he's going to move Maul in front of Qui-Gon, try and take him down. He's got 2 other Mauls in hand, so that seems reasonable, and a backup Phantom Menace now. So that's probably fine. Could be a little concerned about sorry about the mess combo. If he just took Maul out and then didn't have to worry about battling him. But that would, of course, let his opponent then, redeploy in battle and get into that whole game. Then he gets barriered, and, you can kind of do kinds of silly things like that to just avoid being the battles the whole time. But light side does need to find a way to do damage on their own, and here they go to space. Okay. We've seen a lot of the dark side deck. We haven't seen much space yet, if any. He's verified. I don't know if Kiwi's gotten he's verified at least once, I think, when he looked for a docking base, so he would have an idea about potential space. This is a pretty solid ship, although he does make one potential issue in putting Anakin there. The flip side of the hunt down objective, you cannot initiate battles or force drains where opponent has a Jedi or Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker being one of those guys. So if these Jedi die and this objective flips back, you can't drain in space. And that could be pretty costly. Um, I love when I'm playing Hunt Down and I've got Vader sitting somewhere and my opponent drops Anakin and I'll battle, and you're like, you can't. Just that deflated look on their face, like, oh right, this is stupid. He's a Skywalker, and I'm like, he's also the same guy. So it's Vader. He's fighting with himself. It's an internal conflict. So Qui-Gon swings and misses, so he gets a little bit lucky there. But Maul, Qui-Gon does add a Battle Destiny with Maul, so he's already got him outpowered. So he obviously could take Maul off the table and cause a little overflow here. But Maul's going to go down swinging, and Maul swung at Qui-Gon first. Okay. I'd have taken 2 swings at Kenobi because Kenobi's immune to attrition. Maul has to die anyway. And Kenobi's immune to less than 6. So if he misses Kenobi, this could be bad. Like that. Yep. He draws a 6. He misses Kenobi. So now Kenobi could be immune and live. Not ideal. There's the Rebel ambush. Oh, he only had 1 Battle Destiny left. He didn't leave himself 2. It's a minor mistake there. He could have caused some overflow. Well, maybe not. What was the other Destiny that he drew for the swing? It was a 3. So 3 gets him to 20. It'd be Maul in 2. As it is Maul now, we'll cover. But slight misplay by Taco there by swinging at Qui-Gon first. He really needed to swing and hit Kenobi, guaranteeing he hits Kenobi, and then the Battle Destiny will clear Qui-Gon, and that'll keep this objective gets flipped back. It's on the 7 side. You don't lose the Visage. They can't drain in space. So he lost 1 card to Visage there, losing another Kylo. But now he's got to come back down. He's got to send the other Maul. I mean, we're going to do Maul Phantom Menace all over again right here. And he knows what these cards are because he just drew them all for Battle Destiny. So he can do this whole thing all over again. Taco's in chat right now saying he's got 0 space in the deck. So yeah, so that space system's going to go uncontested as expected. Hunt Down very rarely plays space. If they do, it's usually something splashable. A Zuckuss and Mist Hunter, or just Maul's Infiltrator, because then maybe they'll just send Maul up here and then like Cloak or something to get around Battle Plan. It's also a 6, so it doesn't really hurt when it's floating around in the deck. Occasionally you might see the Emperor Shuttle package. In a matchup like this where you might not need Emperor Tarkin on the ground, you can go Emperor Tarkin Shuttle and just like clear and hold a system for a couple turns. So then you can get your drains in for free. But he uses his advanced knowledge of what cards were in his reserve deck and swings and hits. Well, he did shuffle. No, he didn't shuffle. And hits Kenobi this time around. So no harm, no foul. Well, minor foul. Party foul. That's about it. He's sorry about the mess to add 3 to the total. So Rex shoots Maul. Well, look at that. Isn't that brave? Would he have hit him without it? He adds 1 to each of his weapon destiny draws at that site. So he drew 6/3, which would be 9. Minus 2 would be 7. So no, he wouldn't have hit. I'm trying to think if he could have hit him and then used the sorry about the mess to actually make him lost, but no. there just isn't an opportunity for that. I mean, it's a good site. It's a great site for Rexat because he adds 1 to each of the draws, which kind of negates the total -2 clause in his game text. But Maul's going to do his job. He's going to clear both guys. Blizzard, he's only forfeit -3, so he still forfeits for 4. So if Kiwi draws low enough here, Blizzard 4 could live. He draws a 4. Blizzard 4 could survive. And with him only having 3 cards in hand, that might be worth consideration. Oh, right, he gets a second Battle Destiny. Never mind. Dirt had an episode 1 Battleground site, adds a Battle Destiny. So he gets 2. So never mind. So everybody dies. Everybody dies. But more importantly, hunt down flips. No battle damage, no overflow for either side. So hunt down flips, which means Darkside's no longer taking damage from that. Tacobibble's gone. So Darkside's still in control of this game. You know, they're a little bit down on life force, not much. It's 19 to 22. You know, it's pretty reasonable. They both have about the same hand. You know, you could say 25 to 23 is the total. Yoda's going to go off planet now. And he's going to take Chewie with him. It's seems pretty reasonable. He'll flip him back. He'll turn the visage damage back on. Oh, he loses Probot. You need characters. You can't be losing characters to visage. You need all the characters you can get. The only guy you got right now is Tarkin, and Tarkin ain't going to do a whole heck of a lot against Yoda and Chewie. He's going to have to bounce Vader. This is where we're going to see that Vader bounce that we were talking about. Moving him to here and then bouncing him, you know, out. The other option too is he could play 4 Force and pick him up. Take him back into hand, but then he's going to pay to redeploy him. Only difference is it's deploy phase instead of battle phase, but still. I'm sorry, deploy phase instead of move phase, but no, he's not. He's just going to... He's going to start moving Vane. He's going to move Vane to the docking bay and docking bay transit him over. Okay. Yeah, I think you know, what you can conceptually realize here is that Visage is hurting you, not your opponent, once they put Honor out and you don't have like no escape or something like that. So you don't need to protect it. Them canceling it is probably actually the best thing that can happen to you. So but now because he's flipped back, he's getting drained for 1 and 1. You know, Lightside can't have too many guys left. 2 Obies have already died and a Qui-Gon. There might be a second Qui-Gon. Okay, there's a second Qui-Gon. So yes, there might be second Qui-Gon. Now he's got 3 battlegrounds as well. So this is where the game is starting to slip away from Hunt Down. They found just enough Jedi to keep them on the 0 side of the objective for as long as they could. I mean, Darkside's options right now. You can pay to drain. They're only going to lose 2. But you've got Qui-Gon and Yoda now to deal with. And I think Visage is going to end up bleeding Hunt down out. I've been victim of myself that a few times. I lost an OCS game by one, um, where we both had to lose Visage, but it was his turn, and he enforced that I would lose a card first, and lost the game there before Visage caused him one damage, and he lost the game. That was last month. That was a really close game. So he's going to use 4, and he's going to pick Vader back up. That'll send the lightsaber used. Gives him the option to be able to redeploy and battle. I don't know. I might have preferred to just do it the cheaper way, because I think he's going to lose a bunch of cards between here and then, and it might be too expensive to redeploy Vader, especially because the Saber went used, which means now it's near the top of his reserve deck. It'll get lost, and he can lose a force to redeploy it later, but I think he's just spending the resources involved. I think for picking Vader back up are going to be more costly than just bouncing him. Bill's asking, what do you think about starting No Escape against WAP instead of Crush? Should I be worried about Clash in this matchup? Yes, I would be worried about Clash in this matchup. I absolutely would be worried about Clash in this matchup with multiple EPP Qui-Gons and Kenobi in his lightsaber. I would very much be worried about that. So starting Crush, certainly a fine option there. You might just have to prioritize, especially when you see them start Insight and go pull Honor. Then it's when you start having to use things like your Tarkin's Bounty or your Force Push pull on No Escape, or when you check for docking bays, really tracking around to see where No Escape is. That's kind of the disadvantage to doing the Vane Castle, is that you don't have the accelerates in the bridge anymore, so you don't have the accelerates to pull out effects out of your deck, which makes it harder to find No Escape. But yeah, it just becomes one of those things that you just have to prioritize getting, because Honor's killing you. There aren't there's barely 3 battlegrounds on the table that you can get to get around it. So yeah, now there's debating in the chat as to how likely Clash is and whether Honor's more of a problem. And yeah, at the time you deploy your effects as Darkside, you don't know that they're starting Insight, so I think you have to start Crush just because it's more realistically usable. And then they deploy their effects, and by that point in time, it's too late to realize, oh darn, they're going to get Honor. But well, Qui-Gon died, so now if he can get Yoda off the table, he might have a chance. So you're saying there's a chance? What was all that 1 in a million crap? And he can go for the battle. Yoda's hit, so he did what he needed to do. Now he just has to keep Vader alive. Force Field will do that to block Chewie. He's got to lose a Force, which gets reduced again by Honor. Ugh. That'd be the other thing that No Escape would certainly help with. There's, I think, 3 or 4 times you've hit somebody now that he hasn't had to lose a card. And, when it's 15 to 11, that's probably would tie it up. So, yeah, so really, that's awesome. Tracking that 7 around. Good job. So, yeah, so really having to prioritize getting No Escape then. Draws a 5. Vader's immune to less than 6. So Vader's going to live. No overflow. But that'll flip the hunt down back where it needs to be on the 7 side. Shuts down the Anakin drain at the system. This drain right here, they're paying 3 to drain for 1. Meanwhile, Darkside, at least for a turn or 2, can afford to pay to drain for 2 and 2. Kiwi's got 5 cards in his hand, so if he's got anybody left, any tricks left up his sleeve, if he had forfeited his guys differently, he could have Wacklinged back Yoda. I don't know how he'd get it back into hand, but yeah, he could have done something like that. Suicide Jarus Janik. And Rex. He deploys 2 cards from hand to block a drain of 2. But neither player losing to Visage in that. Now the 1 Blaster Ping will add up a little bit here, but not a whole lot. This one's going to be close, but it really all comes down to, can Vader stay on the table or not? If Vader dies, it's probably yeah, having 2 7s floating around through your deck makes it easier to track them, of course, or just blind luck draw them. That's typically why I play. I like the Invasion Battle Droid deck so much. You just draw. You got 10 blasters that are Destiny 8. You don't really need to track much. You just do things and hope it works out. All right. So he swings at Rex. That's a hit, but he won't lose one because again, not at 3 battlegrounds. Ugh. He stopped moving Vane too. He didn't really have the force to do it. Certainly didn't need to once he picked Vader back up, but it's going to be pretty hard for Rex to hit him. He's defense value 8, and Rex is like subtracting 2 from the total. Yeah. Yeah, Destiny -2. So we'd have to be at 11 -2 to get to 9 to hit Vader. 5, 6. It's tough. But he does play Slight Weapons Malfunction, so he'll get a 2nd Battle Destiny. And that might be what does it. Because now he just needs 2 Battle Destiny to crack 6 to beat Vader's immunity. Does this Vader Monarch save him? No. The combo only cancels Revolution. The non-combo version, if Vader just lost, puts him in your use pile instead. He draws a 5 and a 1, which is all he needed, and Vader has to die. And that's pretty much going to be game at this point. The objective's going to flip back to the 0 side. Dark side's going to go back to losing for Visage, and Anakin can now drain again in space. So now with Dark side losing 2 force per round of turns to their own card, plus the Anakin drain, and the fact that they're already slightly ahead and don't have to pay to drain, yeah. It's like they drew Mara, but by the time they can get back to their turn, they won't have enough force left to deploy her, I don't think. They'll throw Wackling out of play, retrieve a card. Drain 1. Ping 1 with the blaster. I'll have just enough to deploy her. That's all he can do, though. He can activate 5 and he can deploy Mara and then say go. So, yeah, a couple tiny little things, a couple battle destinies that didn't quite work out the way they needed to, and then it really just came down to honor. That's exactly what this game came down to. So prioritizing getting honor out certainly changes things quite a bit. Forces light side to lose some more force, forces light side to interact differently with dark side. So there's what we learned today. We'll go ahead and let him play it out and finish it up, but we can see the writing on the wall and know where this game's going. Within a turn or so, dark side will be out of force between from the two that are bleeding out the visage and the one blaster ping here. Even with running him over, and then this one drain here, they can. They may not even get another turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they'd get another turn, but wouldn't have enough cards left to actually force another drain through. So there's no reason for light side to do anything except just say go. Do their damage and say go. Oh, they're gonna have a little fun. It's just gonna take pour a little salt in the wound, take a shot at Dr. E. So, but thank you very much to Tacobill for submitting this game link. Of course, you can PM me on the forums with any game links that you guys have. Thank to everybody for watching. Looks like we had about a dozen people or so watching the live stream. Popping in and out throughout the course. This will be uploaded to YouTube as usual, to my YouTube channel. So anybody can watch it there later. And of course, if you haven't signed up yet for the World Championships coming up in 3 weeks, now would be a good time to do that. Come on out to New Jersey. The weather's actually nicer this time of year, as opposed to, January and things like that. So, and it's at a good hotel, not that swamp in Dagobah where we played a couple years ago. This is a good hotel, legit stuff to do in and around the area. And like I said, 70 plus people planning to attend already. So be sure and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next week. Have a great rest of your week.